Hello, good evening and welcome to Joy News Prime. Coming up in the next hour, all 12 suspects arrested at Tripoli in connection with the violence that greeted the announcement of the MMDC nominee for the district granted bail and rearrested.
Police will do what is necessary. It's not crime to release suspects on bail. The laws allow it, but the way the manner they're going about it, it's not fair.
So why the conflicting change in action? We'll tell you why here on Joy News Prime. Also here in the bulletin, residents of Zunju, Lameshegu and Natmonzu in the Tamale metropolis of the northern region incensed after the police assaulted some residents over illegal electricity connections.
You want to challenge us? Go. Why do you want to challenge? You see what I have to show you something. You don't have to start it. You are literally asking you
Fix the Country movement demonstrates in Takoradi demanding that managers of the country put Ghana back on track.
The government to fix the system. But now everything will be fixed.
Takoradi is the first place that got light, electricity in Ghana. So it cannot be that a region that we actually exploit oil from. This is the region.
And in business, as we mark Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day, we take a look at some of the trade and economic policies that he proposed that remain relevant today.
New African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing the own affairs.
More as trade experts call for the consolidation of efforts to make the Continental Free Trade Area a success. And the reason why today is a holiday is because of this man.
Fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing the own affairs.
What lessons can new politicians learn from him? Share your views with us on our Facebook page on Joy News channel. My name is Ernest. We have details of these stories and more here in the next hour. Please stay with us. Hello again, many thanks for joining us. Now, 12 suspects arrested this dawn at Tripoli in connection with the violence that greeted the announcement of the MMDCE nominee for the district granted bail after a long meeting between the police and the NPP regional executives behind closed doors. They have been rearrested. Some supporters of the new Patriotic Party in the Tripoli district and East Mamprese district of the Northeast region last Sunday went on rampage as soon as the official list was released, attacking some executives of the constituency and vandalizing party property over what they described as the imposition of the district chief executive on them. The 12 persons are said to be involved in the protest that led to the vandalization of some properties. Joy News Northeast correspondent Elias has more.
So the arrest was carried out this morning in a house-to-house search operation led by the regional commander DCOP Moses Ali with nearly 80 heavily armed police troops alongside 3 senior officers. The suspect include a 16-year-old minor and a 65-year-old farmer with a rest age from 23 to 43. The police claimed the suspects were identified following the analysis of several video footage of the violent protests which occurred last Sunday against the president's decision to appoint Madam Zuiratu Nasiru as the area's district chief executive. The Tripoli town has since been quiet after the security operation, but supporters of the ruling party say they have been left disappointed, and the arrest, they said, has only added salt to injury.
We are again in the deepest of shocks of our lives. Last night, no one slept. Around 1:50 a.m., policemen stormed our houses, ransacked our rooms, and brought us out like criminals. And I must say, I'm deeply worried about what is currently happening in Tripoli. You cannot beat someone and expect him or her not to cry. We have endured so much. from the injustices from the elephant family. We never said we had any problem with Ajazwera. Ajazwera is never our problem. Our problem is the appointing authority. Zuera cannot appoint herself. We know that it's some unscrupulous human beings who want to tatter this party for us. And possibly they're telling us that it's the end of the road for us. And we have to advise ourselves appropriately.
The violent protest led to the destruction of several MPP properties, and at least one person was wounded after the angry supporters invaded the residence of the constituency chairman. Meanwhile, the regional chairman of the MPP has led a delegation to the police command seeking to secure bail for the suspect. The chairman, in the company of other regional executives and nearly a dozen followers, arrived at the command while the suspects were being screened to be processed before court. And after a long closed-door meeting with the police, the party regional secretary, Sule Sambian, confirmed to Joy News all the suspects had been released.
I think they are on police inquiry bill and investigations. But you see, the police will still do their work anyway. They can meet and discuss, yes, but if they met and discuss and the police thought that they could grant them police inquiry bill. So it's still within the police jurisdiction to do that.
But what is it, a party, or was it a party decision to go to the police station?
No, that cannot be party decision, of course. But if your party people are arrested, any reasonable chairman will want to go and visit them and find out what's going on.
The suspects were seen in a waiting pickup vehicle, only to be taken back into custody after a Joy News report of the purported release. The police, however, have disputed the claim by the regional secretary and said they will do everything necessary to ensure due process is followed in the matter. Here is Acting Public Relations Officer, ASP Robert Anibik.
Police will do what is necessary. It's not crime to release suspects from bail. The laws allow it, but the way the manner they're going about it, it's not fair. So, for now, what I know is, I spoke to our deputy regional commander. The regional commander to for 4 days now is feeling very tired. The deputy regional commander who is there said they have not released anybody of them.
Earlier, the failed aspirant SK Orlando had warned of severe consequence if the suspect were not released.
But one thing I want to tell leaders or leadership of the new patriotic party, for that matter the government, is that this is purely party business or party affairs. And so we should handle it in a manner that when tomorrow we need the boys, we can have them.
So the developing story here is that the suspects were released and have been rearrested by the police. Elias Utanko is our Northeast Region correspondent and he joins us live. Elias, what more can you tell us about this story?
When the police were preparing or screening, were preparing to screen the suspect, they received a delegation. The MPP regional executive led by the chairman arriving at the police command seeking to secure a bail or intervene on behalf of the supporters who are mainly party supporters, the suspect rather, who are mainly party supporters. At a point, we saw the suspect brought out and put in a waiting pickup vehicle. A few minutes after that, the suspect were again taken back into custody. Earlier on, the regional secretary had confirmed to us that the suspect had been granted bail, but the police have denied that. They have disputed that and said the suspects are currently in custody and they are going to do everything necessary to ensure due process in this matter.
Do we know if they have been charged at all?
We don't know. They have not been formally charged. The intention was to screen them this morning, and so we're told that they were in the process to begin the screening when the party chairman and his executive arrived at the police station. And so there have not been any formal charges against.
Thank you very much. That's our Northeast Region correspondent Elias bringing us update on the arrest of 12 persons in Tripoli following the violence that greeted the announcement of the district chief executive nominee. The local government minister last night on PM Express with Evans Mensah actually said that such individuals who went on the rampage destroying property following the release of the list of MMDCEs must be prosecuted.
Absolutely no basis for the disorderly behavior of some people. But thank God you're talking about only 1 or 2 places out of the 260. Yes, that maybe this whole business of negative news is more news. That's why. Other than that, for me, if you have 260 nominations and for 260 districts, and you have only 1 or 2 places where there have been some disorderly conduct, it's not something that we should lose focus at all. But certainly, the law should take its course. I mean, there's nothing like because you're a party person or because it's about political issues, you can decide to go against the law and people should allow you to go.
Well, government has given the clearest indication that it will, as in a matter of weeks, inaugurate the Gwan districts. The people of Sancho Kofi Atpafu, Lolobi and Litbe Sal, traditional areas, have since 2019 been without any administrative district after the Oti region was carved out from the Volta region. But the minister says all is set for the inauguration of the district.
About the decision by the Electoral Commission for them not to take part in some voting process. But that's for Electoral Commission. The pact that Mr. President had with them was the promise he made that he'll make sure that they get a district. Yes. And Mr. President has signed it until ultimately the district. Then we had to go to elections. After which this whole business of why didn't they take part in elections happened and all that. And under that circumstance, it was not easy, to just carry on with that exercise. Because people still felt that the main issue was the parliamentary elections. So when we were appointed and went to ministry, we go back, because fortunately for some of us, these were the people we were dealing with in the regional reorganization, as to the referendum that they all voted and moved to Oti region. So we had to deal with them, and we had to build consensus. They themselves have a joint coordinating committee, and they started meeting and brought a report. There's a report they brought this year to me as to where they wanted to have the, what do you call it, the district capital.
Oh, the capital.
Yes. But I thought finally, Mr. President, when he issued the instrument, gave it to Lekpe. Fine. Then they started, very encouragingly coming out with the places where they can have as offices before government puts up permanent buildings. And many of the traditional areas offered some of these facilities for us. So finally, we had to talk to them and agree on a date so that we can pay a visit and have that consultation. And we had a very good meeting at Lekpe, when all the traditional chiefs came there. Said, look, we want all of us to confirm that we are ready for the inauguration. We hear voices that, oh, you are no longer even, some are not even interested. Some say they don't believe, they don't accept the fact that they are even in the OT region. So please, let's all agree here and confirm that, yes, we want to have the inauguration done and then find the facilities that we need. And so, in the presence of all the traditional areas and then in the presence of our eminent statesman, Dr. Beda Samoa, that decision was taken.
Now, away from the nomination of MMDCEs, residents of Zunju, part of Lamshegu and Nanpanzu in the Tamale metropolis of the northern region, are incensed after the police assaulted several residents over illegal electricity connections. The residents said what the police should have done was to have arrested offenders and presented them before a competent court of jurisdiction and not to fiscally abuse them. The Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NEDCO, had visited these areas to embark on inspection of those using power illegally. But the situation turned sour when some of the residents were whipped in the process by the police.
You want to challenge my go? Why do you want to challenge? You see, You see what you have to show you something. You don't have to show us anything. You are listening, we are asking you, you are saying something. Go. No, I said I want to show you something.
Officer Superintendent Bernard Baba Ananga said the matter had not come to the attention of the command yet. He, however, added that they as a command will also begin their own investigations to ascertain the veracity of the report. Our reporter Martina Bugui joins us via Zoom with details on this story. How are the people who were lashed feeling?
Unpleasant stories to tell. I spoke to 3 of them and they all are not too excited about what happened. Now, in the viral video that went around, the guy who was sitting on the ground in handcuffs, I spoke to him and he says that he was asleep when he heard bangs on his door and then on his window. So he stepped out only to be greeted with pepper spray in his porch, and then he managed to come out. He was accosted and they started beating him, handcuffed him, and then they said they were sending him to the police station. Another person I spoke to said he was out of the compound and he had gone out. His neighbors called him and said there were police officers in his home. He came, his room and his son's room had been broken into. And so he went to the police to report. He says that whilst at the police station, some of the officers returned back and said they were looking for some people who had done illegal connection. And they pointed to him and they detained him until around 7, where the assemblyman for the area came and sought bail for him. He said the third person said he was holding his mobile phone. He was accused of trying to call somebody, and for that reason he was beaten. And so these are some of the stories they told me happened yesterday when the team came around to go through those who had connected power illegally in the neighborhood.
You have mentioned that one of them has been granted bail following the intervention of the assemblyman. What of the others? Are they also out of police custody or they remain there?
The others, I'm told, were not sent to the police station. He had gone to report because they broke into his room without his pet. He wasn't around when they broke into his room. So he went to report to the police so that the police can come with him and then they would inspect in case something had gotten missing. But he was rather detained because the police had said that they were looking for people who had done some illegal connection, and they were told that one of them had come to report. And so he was detained. It was based on that he was detained. And the assemblyman had to come to his rescue, I'm told.
Martina, thank you so much. That's Martina Bugui, our Northern Region correspondent. We have security analyst Adam Bona also join us via Zoom. Mr. Bona, what is your take on this situation in part of the Northern Region? Police officers lashing, citizens because they have allegedly connected electricity illegally. Is that justified?
Good evening, Ernest, and good evening to your viewers. No, it's not justified. Police officers are not a law unto themselves, but it is gratifying to note that when your producer called me this evening with regards to, I have been in a program, so I haven't been monitoring, but when he called me with regards to this particular incident in the Northern Region, I quickly, checked. And when I checked, it's gratifying to note that all of the officers involved, as at this evening, have all been interdicted. And so I am sure probably by tomorrow morning thereabout, the police in the region would let us know the action they have taken. And it's also to say, when I check from very credible sources, police sources in the region, that after their interdiction, they've been passed on to the regional crime commander to investigate them. And if they are found to be guilty of any assault of a sort, they will be put before court. They will go through the normal police processes, and if there need be, they will be put before court. And so I think that it is a very swift action taken by the police, but it is embarrassing and sheer stupidity, let me put it that way, on the part of these police officers. I don't think even a competent court of jurisdiction would sentence someone to lashes. If they committed a crime and you have the evidence, you arrest them instantly. But to put them in this inhuman treatment, embarrass them before everybody, whip them this is. I think that maybe they are not aware of the era of policing they find themselves. So this is the information I picked when your producer called me. I needed to quickly check, as I usually do, before coming onto your network.
Sure, and indeed, just before we actually came on, we checked with the police. They had told us, they had told our colleagues on the ground, indeed my producer, that they were investigating the matter. So thank you for the intel. We'll follow up on that and hopefully get some update. But then, usually with such operations, you have the various agencies applying to the police for support. Would you think that a bit of responsibility may lie on some of these agencies? So in this case, NETCO. Could it be as a result of instructions given them, either through their commanders directly or by the persons from these agencies?
No, any institution apart from the police, or another security agency. The police doesn't take instructions. These are professionals. The NETCO, they are professional power distributors and suppliers. And police, they are supposed to be professional law enforcement agencies and officers. So NETCO cannot come. NETCO can only apply to the Ghana Police Service, depending on whichever jurisdiction, and say, we need you to help us apprehend some people. And that's it. And so they only would have to go and apprehend those people, arrest them decently, and, detain them. And within 48 hours, you present them before court or you grant them inquiry bail. And then they go through the process. So NETCO, under no circumstances can NETCO be roped in. It is just these rogue police officers. Usually they will say, we'll show you something small. And I'm sure other young police officers who are watching, who are fond of, meting out some of this inhuman treatment to civilians would learn, because then there's a new, administration in place. If the so-called powerful people themselves are getting detained, then I don't think young police officers and the like should take the current administration, for granted.
Thank you very much. That's security analyst Adam Bona joining us on that story. Now, some government workers in the Tamale metropolis have hit the street in protest of the 4% and 7% increment in wages for 2021 and 2022. The peaceful march restarted at the Jubilee Park saw the protesters march through the major street in the metropolis carrying placards with messages screaming for better wages. Secretary of the Coalition Against TUC and Organized Labor, Azubila Abdul Salam Emmanuel, wondered how the leadership of Organized Labor accepted increment of salaries without knowing the financial project of 2022. He gave a 14-day ultimatum to their leadership to return to the negotiation table with the government or face the collapse of the various unions.
We are representing Ghanaian public sector workers, and we will always follow the voice of Ghanaian public sector workers. And what we are going to do is that TUC, they are not being, there is no budget from government to TUC or organized labor. Their budget is in workers, our pockets. We are those who pay dues to keep TUC and organized labor running. If they decide not to listen to us as their members, and they will follow what has been put in their pockets, and they will subject us to this suffering, we will advise ourselves. And advising ourselves include freezing on paying dues to these unions. And if we continue this thing, and they still refuse to listen to us, we know by the labor law, every worker is supposed to belong to a union. We are calling on all the unions. Any union that thinks they are not in agreement with the 4%, we are giving them 14 days. They should come out and call for renegotiation, or else most of these unions are going to collapse. And we as a coalition, we will urge any government worker who want to form a union. Whether you are a teacher, you want to form teachers union. You are a local and civil servant worker, you want to form a union for your workers. You are a health worker or doctor, whatever, and you want to form a union. And that union will serve the interests of Ghanaian public workers. This coalition, we are behind you.
The Director of Operations of the Coalition Against TUC, Adam Mumuni, also warned the leadership of Workers' Union that they will not relent in their fight against them until they negotiate properly for the ordinary Ghanaian worker. You're watching Johnny's Prime with me, Ernest Menu from Tamale. Let's go to Takoradi.
Our leaders that have sent some people to come and tell us to fix ourselves, that we have started fixing ourselves. That is why we don't want to make any field in Takoradi. We are making sure that as we go for this demonstration.
So those are scenes from the Western Regional Capital of Takoradi, where the Fix the Country campaigners today staged a street protest demanding yet again a new deal from the government. Campaigners say they are tired of the years of directionless leadership. Now, the group has staged a protest here in Accra on Founders Day, August 4, serving notice of other similar demonstrations to press home their demand for better living conditions. Some of the protesters who showed up in Takoradi from various parts of the country have been speaking to Joy News.
Our leaders that have sent some people to come and tell us to fix ourselves, that we have started fixing ourselves. That is why we don't want to make any field in Takoradi. We are making sure that as we go for this demonstration, we clear every dirt we make here in Takoradi, so that we make Takoradi a clean place, as Akufo-Addo wanted to make Accra the cleanest place. But the fact is, some of the police officers are trying to distract what we are doing. How does Aboboya
bauxite bibia nancha yenya lithium na yenya no 150 billion US dollars seven progress why do engagement odi ama broni say broni ne mfa normal 15% for 60 years 60 years no oh munya kasa no 60 years no na do bewu akọ ba wo mia bewu John Dramani Mahama bewu omo bo oman na bro abo ekiri ba intimi gira we me na kanso ale nyan wo no deka.
The director of the West African Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Pathogens, Professor Gordon Awandare, is warning that the fast-mutating COVID-19 virus could necessitate multiple vaccinations after every 6 months. This despite government's struggle to meet its target of inoculating 20 million people by end of 2021. All of Ghana's 3 waves of COVID-19 have been driven by different mutations of the virus, as recent studies established that the available vaccines do not provide full protection against newer variants. Professor Awandare believes there may be a need for multiple vaccinations.
No, because this virus is changing and quite rapidly, it means that the way we deal with it is going to be more similar to how we deal with influenza or flu, which is that every year or every few years, you have to revise the vaccine. You have to remake the vaccine to account for the variation in the virus that's in circulation. Every year, a new virus strain comes around, or every 2 years. Then you have to sort of edit your vaccine to match the new one. So we can envisage that for COVID-19, we're going to be doing the same thing, that every year or maybe even every 6 months, you may need to go and get a booster, you know.
You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Mino. It's the holiday edition. We're taking a short break. When we return, we'll bring you business, and Charles Aite will tell you about some of the trade policies introduced by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and how relevant they are today. Please stay with us.
Hello there, welcome to Business. I'm Charles Aite. Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, entreated Africans to consider a common African market or risk what he termed the invasion of the continent's market by European goods. Now, some 60 years later, with the political unification of the continent still a distant prospect, efforts to launch the AfTA have so far been successful. With a $3.4 trillion market, the words of Dr. Nkrumah still resonate with the drafters of this common market. Take a listen to him addressing an assembly some 64 years ago.
We must begin to build immediately our own continental common market. For it is easy for anyone who studies the Common Market Organization closely to realize that the common market is aimed at harnessing the African countries to satisfy the profit lust of the imperialist bloc and to prevent us from following an independent neutralist policy. It is easy to see that the imperialists and the colonialists are determined to retain the African countries in the position of suppliers of cheap raw materials. If we do not resist this threat, and if we throw in our lot with the common market, we shall doom the economy of Africa to a state of perpetual subjection to the economy of Western Europe. This will, of course, hinder the industrialization of our young African states. It is impossible to think of economic development and national independence without possessing an unfettered capacity for maintaining a strong industrial power. The activities of the common market are therefore fraught with dangerous political and economic consequences for the independent African states. The organization constitutes an attempt to replace the old system of colonial exploitation by a new system of collective colonialism, which will be stronger and more dangerous than the old evils we are striving to liquidate from our continent. This is another reason why we should come together in a unified African economic plan, which, operating on a continental scale, can make a solid attack on the imperialist domination in Africa. We should, without delay, aim at the creation of a joint African military command. There is little wisdom in our present separate effort to build up and maintain defense forces, which, in any case, would be ineffective in a major world conflict. If we examine this problem realistically, we would ask, which single African state could protect itself against an imperialist aggressor?
Meanwhile, trade expert and executive secretary of the Ghana International Trade Commission, Frank Ejekum, has called for a consolidation of efforts by member states to make this work.
Well, I believe on the onset, what we should look at is how we are able to integrate our markets and economic systems to ensure that we are fully integrated in terms of free, safe trading practices. I'm afraid it's an art of trading. Don't forget that trading and economic prices are in some cases war. The stronger powers and whoever has a way will try as much as possible to find a way to undercut the other. For us as a country and us as a continent, what we need to do is for us to be aware and awake to some of these things and make sure that we stem them wherever it is. To ask that African countries all of a sudden begin to engage in very safe practices in terms of trading is difficult. Even though that is desirable, the important thing for us to do is to have the watchdog, as we have it here in Ghana, the Ghana International Trade Commission, which really is there to check on some of these unsafe trade practices.
All right.
Don't forget that even between Europe and America, there are still unfair trade practices going on. And we know that between America and China, it's almost a daily affair, between China and Australia, between Europe, and so it's all over. It's a way that people will use to try and maximize their profits and make sure that the receiving country does not gain as much as possible. So we in Ghana, it's good we have the International Trade Commission going, which is set up to foresee and to forestall some of these things in order to make sure that our nascent industries are able to grow and to be able to compete on an even keel with their foreign counterparts. Don't forget that liberal trade does not mean unsafe trade. And unsafe trade means that we should be able to protect our own and make sure that our own is able to survive for our own good.
And of course, that'll be it for business. I'm Charles Aita. We have sports coming up next. To stay.
Many thanks for staying with us. Time to bring you sports. I am Hans Mensah Ando. And Ashgold President Dr. Kweku Frimpong and CEO Emmanuel Frimpong face GFA bonds after being charged for misconduct during the 2020-2021 Ghana Premier League Week 34 game against Inter-Allies. There is more in this report.
The president of Ashanti Gold SC, Kweku Frimpong, and chief executive officer of the club, Emmanuel Frimpong, have both been charged on 3 counts of misconduct for match manipulation in their 2020-21 Ghana Premier League Week 34 match against Inter-Allies at the Obuasi Lenclay Stadium on July 17, 2021. The president and chief executive officer of the club were both charged for breaching Article 27, Subsection 1 and 27 Subsection 2 of the GFA Code of Ethics and Article 18 Subsection 1 of the GFA Disciplinary Code and Article 34.5a and 34.5b of the Ghana Premier League regulations. The 2 club officials are expected to submit their statements of defense to the charges on or before Wednesday, September 22, after which the GFA Disciplinary Committee will adjudicate their cases.
Now, in its bid to develop boxing in the country, the Ghana Boxing Authority will pay companies who sponsor boxers 15% of their purse. Speaking to Joy Sports in an exclusive interview, President of the Ghana Boxing Authority, Abraham Kotainikwe, believes this incentive package will attract corporate Ghana.
A good aspect of it is, most of the time, the corporate bodies ask something. What is our benefit? This is going to be their benefit. When they come in to partner us, they are going to make 15% on the purse of the boxer. So you come in and invest on the boxer, then we build the boxer to the world level. Already, there will be a contract of 5 years. So the corporate body now is not throwing his money away, but rather in the next 2 years, he will start making his money that he put in. Whilst he's going to have ambassadorship of the boxer, is going to have adverts international level, because if we are going to dress in the company's logo and other things. So now it is not going to be like you put in money and you don't see the money. The next year you are going to get your money with the help of the GBA, the corporate bodies, and the individual managers. 3 teams coming together with the support of the coaches, we are going to make a lot of world champions. I've told Ghanaians, we know our strength. Our strength is boxing. Let us pay attention to boxing. Then people keep talking about us world level. You can call from DK Poison, Azuma Nelson, Nanayo Akonedu, Ike Bazooka, Alfred Korte, Kome. You can call Game Boy, Emmanuel Tego. You can call the Hitter. You can call Agboko. You can call Joshua. You can call Dogbe. You know, we have a lot of names to call when it comes to boxing. Other disciplines are struggling to take us there. We are begging Ghana, we are begging the corporate bodies and the government that we beg them. Let them pay attention to the sports that bring glory to Ghana, and that is boxing. We beg them to come and support boxing. And we promise them within a year or 2, the Ghana Black Fighters, which is a team of 12, will produce 8 world champions out of this team.
And that's it for sport. You can read more at myjoyonline.com/sport. We take a break here on Joy News Prime. We'll be back with more.
Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. And scores of residents of Agape Top in the Gas Central municipality of the Greater Accra region have been forced to seek refuge in makeshift structures after their homes were taken over by floods yesterday. Now, roads in the community were also flooded, making it difficult for the residents to access other parts of the capital. They're appealing to government to construct roads and drainage systems to help ease their situation. Now, Missy Thompson was in their community and our reports.
The
sad story of 50-year-old Mamin Kran.
She spent her entire life savings to put up this apartment to house herself and her 4 children. She's operated this tabletop provision store to help with her upkeep and that of her children for many years. But that story completely changed last week after heavy rains. When it rained, we couldn't have access to the house because of the flood. All my belongings are destroyed.
Provisions.
We need government to construct the drains.
Well, the Member of Parliament for the area has said that some temporary drainage systems will be constructed whilst they wait for the confirmation of the Municipal Chief Executive for the area to address this issue holistically. Now, Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, entreated Africans to consider a common African market or risk what he termed the invasion of the continent. But today, as we celebrate him, 120 years since he died, here are some brilliant speeches from Dr. Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah.
Join us so that we can prove to the world that when the African is given a chance, he can show to the world that he's somebody. Forward then to independence. To independence now. Tomorrow, the United States of Africa.
We must begin to build immediately our own continental common market. For it is easy for anyone who studies the Common Market Organization closely to realize that the common market is aimed at harnessing the African countries to satisfy the profit loss of the imperialist bloc and to prevent us from following an independent neutralist policy.
We have more on our social media platforms you want to watch and comment. That's it for Joy News Prime. Many thanks for your company. Enjoy the rest of the holiday.
Hello, my name is Evans Mensah, and you can relive all the fun and excitement on Top Story, Newsnight, and of course, Ghana Connect via podcast. All you need to do is to log on to myjoyonline/podcast. Search for your favorite show and relive the moment. Joy 99.7 FM, your radio for discerning listeners.
Good morning and welcome to News File.